I was looking at the prep notes for this deep dive, and I honestly, I thought there was a typo in the research. I actually stopped, put my coffee down, and I reread this one statistic from core.ai like 3 times because it just didn't compute with what I see on my Twitter feed.
I think I know exactly which stat you're talking about. It's the one about the Gen AI paradox, right?
Exactly, the Gen AI paradox.
Yeah.
So here's the setup, and you tell me if this sounds familiar. We're living in this, golden age of AI, right? Everyone is on the bandwagon. The report says something like 78% of enterprises have deployed generative AI in some function. We're all using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you name it.
Right. Adoption is through the roof.
But, and this is the part that made me do the double take, 80% of those same companies say it hasn't meaningfully improved productivity or revenue. 80%.
It's a staggering number. It really is.
It is. I mean, think about it. We have these tools that can write, Shakespearean sonnets in seconds, summarize 100-page documents, and generate these photorealistic images of cats in spacesuits. But if you look at the actual bottom line, the P&L, the efficiency metrics, the needle just isn't moving. Why do we feel like we have all these shiny new superpowers, but we somehow have less time than ever?
That is the defining frustration of this specific moment in tech history.
Uh-huh.
And I think it hits small business owners and nonprofit managers the absolute hardest.
Oh, yeah.
The people wearing 20 hats.
Yeah.
They were promised that AI was going to be this great equalizer, this kind of magic wand that would let them do more with less. But instead, they're finding themselves stuck in what the research calls a capacity gap.
A capacity gap. Okay, let's unpack that, because I feel like a lot of listeners are probably nodding along right now, maybe looking at a browser tab with like 40 open AI chats that they haven't actually done anything with yet.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
That feeling of productivity theater. You spend 45 minutes tweaking a prompt to get a perfect email draft. You feel busy. You feel like you're using tech. But then what happens?
Well, then I have to read it. I have to fact check it because it might have, hallucinated something. I have to format it.
And then you have to log into your email provider. You have to paste it in, find the email list, upload the list, find the image you generated in another tool, resize it because it's too big, check the links.
Hit send and then sit there and monitor the replies.
Yes.
Okay, when you list it out like that, the AI really only did about, 5% of the actual job?
Precisely. And that is the Gen AI paradox. Standard generative AI creates content, but content isn't work. Action is work. The AI hands you the baton at the first leg of the relay race, and then, it goes on a coffee break while you run the rest of the marathon.
It hands you the baton and goes to get a latte. I love that image. But it's so frustrating. It feels like we've just invented a really, really fast way to create a backlog for ourselves.
That is a very fair assessment. The research from Core.ai points this out as a fundamental limitation of the current tools. They are reactive. They just sit there blinking a cursor, waiting for you. The capacity gap is that space between the draft the AI wrote and the finished result you actually need. And today, the human has to bridge that gap manually.
So if the problem is that we have tools that can talk but can't do, what's the solution? Because we're looking at a stack of research here, MindStudio, Core.ai, UST, that suggests we aren't just going to get slightly faster chatbots. We're looking at a different architecture entirely.
We are. We are moving from the era of creation to the era of action. And the industry calls this shift Agentic AI.
Agentic AI. Now, I have to play the skeptic for a second here, because our listeners have heard this changes everything about every 6 months for the last few years. We heard it with chatbots, we heard it with crypto, we heard it with the metaverse. Why is Agentic AI not just another buzzword to sell us more software?
That's a valid question. And the difference here isn't about hype. It's about the fundamental mechanics of how the software operates. Think about the difference between a task manager and a campaign manager. This is an analogy from the UST report that I think just nails it.
Okay, task manager versus campaign manager. Break that down for me.
Right now, you use AI as a task manager. You say, draft this email. It drafts the email. Task complete. The cognitive load is still on you to know what to do next and how to do it.
Right. I'm the one connecting all the dots.
Exactly. A campaign manager, an agentic system, doesn't just do the task. It owns the outcome. You don't say, draft an email. You say, run a fundraising campaign to raise $5,000 for the spring initiative.
Whoa, hang on. That is a massive difference. Run a campaign involves, 50 different steps. It involves timing, audience segmentation, follow-ups. You're saying the AI handles all that.
That is the promise of Agentic AI. It helps you perform, not just produce. And to understand how it pulls that off, we have to look under the hood at the perceive, plan, act cycle.
Perceive, plan, act. Okay, this sounds a bit technical, but let's try to make it concrete. Because when I hear perceive, I just think of a camera. But we're talking about software here.
Right, so perceiving for an AI agent is much more than just seeing a database row. Think about a standard automation tool like a Zapier script. It's deterministic. If A happens, do B. It's rigid.
Oh, yeah, I've had those break on me. It's a total nightmare.
It is. An agentic system is different. It perceives the environment dynamically. It can read the tone of an incoming email. It can check the timestamp of the last interaction in your CRM. It can look at your inventory levels through an API. It is synthesizing context from multiple systems at the same time, systems that usually don't even talk to each other.
So it's not just a brain in a jar anymore.
No. Standard AI is a brain in a jar. Brilliant, but totally disconnected. Agentic AI is a brain connected to a nervous system. It has eyes, those are the sensors and APIs, and it has hands.
Okay, so that's perceive. What about plan? Because honestly, I sometimes struggle to plan my own week. How does an AI figure out a sequence of events?
This is where the reasoning capability comes in. The agent takes a complex, kind of fuzzy, goal-like, update the website for the new product launch, and it breaks it down into steps. It iterates. It might think, okay, first I need the copy, then I need the images, then I need to code the HTML. But here's the kicker. If it hits a roadblock, it adapts.
Adapts how?
Well, let's look at the act phase. This is the arms and legs part. Let's use that website example from the core.ai source. If you ask a standard chatbot to build a website, it gives you a block of code and says, good luck.
Which is like buying IKEA furniture, but they forgot to give you the Allen wrench?
Exactly. You're left holding the pieces. But an agentic system, it generates the code, but then it executes it. It logs into your hosting provider. It uploads the files. It tests the page load speed. And this is the crucial part. If a link is broken or an image doesn't load, it perceives that error, plans a fix, and acts to correct it. It creates a self-correcting loop.
It fixes its own mistakes. That sounds, well, it sounds useful, but also a little unnerving.
It is a massive shift. It means the human moves from being the doer to being the reviewer.
Okay, I want to ground this. Because building a website is a big, flashy example. But most of the people listening, especially the nonprofit folks or small business owners, they're drowning in the mundane, the daily grind. I'm thinking specifically about social media. It is the death by 1,000 cuts.
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic capacity trap. You know you need to be present, but it takes so much time to just listen, let alone respond.
Right. And Mind Studio had this fascinating breakdown of how agents handle this differently than just, basic scheduling tools. Because I have tools that schedule posts. That's not new.
True. But think about social listening. Most tools today are just notification systems. Someone tags your brand, you get a ping. Maybe you get 1,000 pings. A human still have to go read them, decide if it's a happy customer, a troll, or a genuine crisis, and then type a reply.
Which means if I'm a team of one, I just ignore them until Friday afternoon when I have time.
Exactly. You're reacting. An agentic AI acts like a sentinel. It doesn't just ping you. It reads the comment, and it analyzes the sentiment. And I mean nuanced sentiment. It can tell the difference between a sarcastic thanks a lot and a genuine thanks a lot.
That is hard for some humans to do, honestly.
Fair point. But then it takes action. It drafts a response in your brand voice. If it's a standard query, maybe it posts it. If it's nuanced, it cues it up for a simple thumbs up from you. But it goes further. Mind Studio talks about crisis detection.
This is the part that piqued my interest, but also my anxiety.
Why the anxiety?
Well, do I really trust a bot to handle a PR crisis at 2 in the morning? If it misreads the room, it could pour gasoline on the fire.
And that is a very healthy skepticism. But the idea isn't that the AI holds a press conference on its own. It acts as an early warning system. It detects an unusual spike in negative sentiment. Maybe a specific keyword is trending alongside your brand name. It alerts the team immediately, provides a summary of why people are mad, and even drafts a crisis response strategy based on your past protocols.
So it wakes me up, but it wakes me up with a briefing document in hand, not just a blaring fire alarm.
Exactly. It does the triage. It organizes the chaos so you can make the executive decision.
Looking at how these agents retrieve information and organize it, it reminds me of a specific analogy. The sources didn't use this exact word, but it feels like we're upgrading from a search bar to a hyper-efficient librarian.
That is a perfect analogy. Let's run with that. Think about the old librarian, basically a search engine. You go in and ask, where are the books on donor retention? The librarian points to aisle 4 and says, good luck. You still have to go find the book, read it, and extract the info.
Right. That's the current state of search.
An agentic AI is a new librarian. But this librarian also runs the shipping department. You ask for a plan to improve donor retention. This librarian reads every book in your stack, your CRM data, your past emails, your transaction history. It synthesizes a strategy. And then the agentic part, it prints the labels, packs the boxes, and ships the letters to the donors.
I love that. It's a librarian that isn't afraid to get paper cuts and use the packing tape.
Yes. And to expand on that shipping idea, it's not just text anymore. We have to talk about the multimodal capabilities mentioned in the UST and Mind Studio reports, specifically voice agents.
Oh, right. But again, I have to ask, are we just talking about better transcription? Because I have voicemail to text. It's fine. It's not, life-changing.
We are talking about way more than transcription. We are talking about voice agents with those same arms and legs.
Give me an example.
Okay. Imagine a donor calls your nonprofit after hours. They leave a voicemail saying, "Hi, I need to update my credit card for my monthly donation. Here's the new number." A standard tool just transcribes that text and emails it to you. You still have to log in and update the system.
Which is a security risk and just annoying.
Right. An agentic voice agent listens, extracts the intent, update payment, extracts the secure data, logs into the payment gateway via an API, updates the record, processes a test charge to ensure it works, and then sends a voice confirmation or SMS back to the donor saying, "All set."
Wow, so the voice agent actually did the admin work.
It connects the voice directly to the action. That is a massive leap for capacity because it removes the human from the administrative loop entirely for routine tasks.
This really changes the definition of productivity. I mean, we aren't just talking about doing the same things faster. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how the business operates.
We are. UST calls this the shift from pipelines to autonomous loops.
Pipelines to loops. Unpack that for me.
A pipeline is linear. Draft, approve, publish, done. An autonomous loop is circular and self-correcting. The best example from the research is the campaign monitoring and optimization agent. This is where we get into the money.
Okay, now you had my attention.
Imagine an agent that manages your advertising budget across LinkedIn and Meta. Most business owners check this once a week, right?
If that. Usually I check it when I realize I've burned through my budget and gotten 0 leads.
Exactly. But an agentic system monitors this in real time. It sees that the LinkedIn ad is performing poorly, but the Meta ad is bringing in leads at half the cost. The agent doesn't just send you a PDF report. It actually reallocates the budget. It pulls $500 from LinkedIn and moves it to Meta.
Wait, it moves my money without asking me.
I can hear the panic in your voice.
Well, yeah, that sounds dangerous. What if it decides to spend my entire yearly budget in an hour because it found some pattern?
And that brings us right back to the guardrails concept. You set the parameters. You say, you can move up to $500 a day, but no more. But within those guardrails, it acts autonomously. And if performance dips, it can even trigger a refresh, task pinging, a generative design tool to create a new image variation based on what's working.
So it's managing the money and the creative direction.
It is, and the payoff is time. Mind Studio cites a stat that teams using these kinds of agents save 10 to 15 hours per week on routine tasks. That is a day and a half of work.
A day and a half. For a nonprofit director or a small business owner, that isn't just efficiency. That's the difference between burnout and actually accomplishing the mission. That's getting your weekends back.
It is, and it brings up a really interesting concept from one of our other sources regarding fractional leadership.
Oh, yes, I remember this. They were comparing executive coaching to fractional leadership. How does that fit into AI?
It's a great metaphor for adoption. The source argues that executive coaching changes the person, but fractional leadership changes the system.
Oh.
When you hire a fractional CFO, you aren't paying them to teach you how to do accounting. You're paying them to just handle the finances so you don't have to. You are buying a result.
I see where you're going with this.
Using a standard chatbot like ChatGPT is like coaching. It helps you write better. It makes you faster. But deploying an agentic AI is like hiring a fractional marketing manager. You aren't just getting advice. You are offloading the responsibility for the execution. To close that capacity gap, you don't need to be coached on how to type faster. You need to change the system by installing agents that do the work for you.
That is a light bulb moment for me. We've been trying to coach ourselves into productivity with chatbots when we should be hiring agents to take the work off our plate.
Precisely. It's a shift in mindset from assistant to employee.
But, and there is always a but, if I hire a digital army of agents to do the marketing and the budgeting and the website building, what do? Do I just sit on the beach and sip margaritas?
I wish. But no, the role doesn't disappear, it elevates. UST introduces the concept of the chief orchestrator.
Chief orchestrator. That sounds fancy. Does it come with a raise?
It should. It's the new reality for leaders. Your value shifts from doing the tasks to directing the talent pool. It just happens that the talent pool is digital. You are setting the strategy, the direction, the ethical boundaries. And most importantly, you are handling the empathy and storytelling.
The things the AI, for all its arms and legs, still can't really feel.
Exactly. An agent can optimize a budget, but it can't sit across from a major donor and understand the emotional reason they want to give. It can't discern the delicate political nuance of a public statement during a crisis, even if it flags the crisis for you.
So we become the conductors, we hold the baton, and the agents play the instruments.
Yes. But we have to talk about the risks again. We touched on the money thing, but there's a broader autonomy risk.
Right.
Core.ai and UST highlight this heavily.
Because if an AI writes a bad poem, nobody gets hurt. But if an AI has arms and legs, it can knock things over.
Exactly. When an AI creates text, the worst case is usually a bad draft you have to rewrite. But when an AI executes actions, it could accidentally order 10,000 units of inventory instead of 1,000 because of a decimal error. It could send a confidential discount code to the wrong email list.
So governance isn't just boring compliance stuff anymore, it's actual safety.
It is essential. This is why human in loop is so critical. For high-stakes decisions, anything involving money, brand reputation, or legal compliance, the agent creates the plan, but the human must approve the strategy. The agent is the engine, but you have to be the steering wheel and the brake.
It's like self-driving cars. You can take your hands off the wheel on the highway, maybe, but you better be watching the road because the car doesn't know what a construction zone looks like.
Exactly. You don't want to wake up and find out your autonomous pricing agent sold your entire inventory for $1.
No, definitely not. That is a nightmare scenario.
So the transition to agentic AI requires a new kind of discipline. It's about defining goals clearly and setting strict guardrails. It's not just plug and play. You have to train the agents just like you would train a junior employee.
That makes a lot of sense. So to recap what we've unpacked today, because we've covered a lot of ground, the GenAI paradox exists because we've been using tools that create but don't act. We've been drowning in drafts.
Right.
The solution is agentic AI. These systems that perceive, plan, and act. They are the librarians with shipping departments, the fractional employees that close the capacity gap by taking on the execution, not just the ideation.
That's it. It's the shift from asking a computer a question to giving a computer a goal.
And realizing that our job is to orchestrate that goal, not to turn every screw ourselves.
Couldn't said it better.
Now, before we sign off, we like to leave you with something to chew on, something that takes this research one step further.
Right. So looking at the forecasts from Core.ai and UST, there is a prediction that by 2028, which is just around the corner, 15% of day-to-day work decisions will be made autonomously by AI agents. Not assisted, but autonomous.
15%. That sounds small at first, but when you think about an 8-hour workday, that's over an hour of decision-making completely off your plate.
Exactly. And the question isn't, will this happen? The question is, are you ready for it? If you could hand over 15% of your decision-making starting tomorrow, which 15% would you give up first?
Is it the scheduling, the budgeting, the initial triage of emails?
And the harder question, what would you actually do with that free time? Would you just fill it with more busy work? Or would you finally focus on the big strategic moves, the donor relationships, the product innovation that you've been putting off because you were too busy pasting text into emails?
That is the real challenge. Are we ready to let go of the busy work that makes us feel productive so we can actually be productive?
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting few years.
It certainly is. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure.
Catch you on the next one.